Welcome to Wood Talk. Now here are three guys who have chiseled good looks. In their joinery, Marc, Shannon, and Matt.
Well, what's happening, everybody? It is show number 576, and on today's show, we're talking about a big WIA recap, that's Woodworking in America, using a French shop, resawing on the table saw, and when to use certain woods. But before we get to that, we want to let you know that Wood Talk is proudly supported by you, and some crappy ads, but mostly by you. And Matt's going to let you know how you can help us out.
I will certainly do that. If you, the listener, would like to help support the show, you can absolutely do so. You can go to patreon.com/woodtalk and sign up to become a patron of this glorious, wonderful, long-running show that we do. For whatever reason, we still do this. This week, we're thanking Tom Coates, Poopy McFarty Pants, Mark Mirren, Sean Miller, and Robbie Sensor. And as a perk, besides getting your name read by me, if you sign up to become a patron, you also get access to the ad-free version of this show filled with plenty of awkward pauses, or more than usual, where the ads would be.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy that and so much more. That's patreon.com/woodtalk.
Very nice. Well done, Matt. You're on fire today.
That's it. I'm done.
Okay, we'll see you later.
I'll be back in bed now.
He did everything he could today. Gotta love that Poopy McFarty Pants.
Ah,
That's a man after my own heart.
such a supporter, you know. Been around forever.
You gotta appreciate the people who try to sneak it in with, like, you know, a bend over or something like that. But
Yeah,
when you just
something
lean
clever.
into it and don't even make it subtle, points for that.
Yep, I love it. Love it a lot. All right, so let's get to our favorite segment of the show. What's on the bench? And I'll go first.
Is it our favorite?
No, just
okay.
These are just things you say when you do a show, Matt. You know, like
I
when
told you
have
I
a
was
sponsor,
done. I was checked out now.
like when you have a sponsor and you say "my friends" at, like, they're not your friends. You stop it right now.
My buddies, you know, we hang out, we do shuffleboard and
Exactly.
brewskis.
You guys hang out. Yeah, you go bike riding on the weekend together with a Triton, Matt. Is that what you do?
Yeah, constantly,
think so.
especially with our Lycra pants or whatever the hell I was supposed to be wearing.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, good stuff. I'll go first. So, coffee bar. Mom wants a coffee bar. You guys know what that is? Does that even make sense to you?
Is it like a granola bar?
Bar with coffee on it.
Sounds delicious. I'll have one. It's basically like a floor standing cabinet with some storage, but most importantly, like a countertop style work surface where they can prepare a coffee. For whatever reason, I guess she doesn't have enough counter space. She wants a separate coffee bar to sit next to, like a little pantry closet in the kitchen.
Is she like
just 'cause she's
coffee
bougie.
aficionado? Is she like really into like coffee, like measuring the water weight and the bean weight and
So
doing all that stuff?
You guys asked kind of the same question at the same time. The answer is no. My mom is more of like a Folgers gal.
Or is it like I need somewhere to put my Keurig or something?
Yeah, it's like whatever coffee is on sale is the one my mom's going to drink. I honestly don't 100% know because the house she moved into has a very large island. It's got a decent amount of counter space, and I still don't completely understand why she needs this. But she asked for it, and I'm building it. So
Because she
you
has
need
you as a
content.
son, Mark.
My son needs
Has
content.
you as a son.
that's
it.
she's just worried about me. I think that could be it. So what I'm doing with this thing is, some standard casework. It's not going to get too crazy, but I'm going to just do plywood cores and some shop sawn veneer just for fun, just to make it a little more interesting. And I realized with the size of these panels, the bag that I have currently for vacuum pressing is a little bit too small. So I'm gonna have to make a bigger one. And I got a big bag.
Yeah.
I got a big bag, and I've never put anything in it. And I think the bag itself might be 5 by 10, which means a full 4
Where do
by
you
8.
store that?
Well, the bag is easy to store when there's nothing in it.
Yeah, but it's still big. Like I got a 4x4 bag, and it's like this. It's not small when you fold it up either.
Well, it hasn't been a problem yet because there hasn't been a platen in it. So it's just a rolled up plastic bag for now that just goes up in the corner. So now the problem begins because now I have to actually make the platen, cut all the little grooves in it, put the little hoochie in there. And then once it's in that
are you gonna
bag.
do a full 5x10 or are you going to do a smaller platen for like normal size stuff?
So it's going to be, I'm going to aim for about 4 by 8 inside the, because I think that 5 by 10 is there to kind of give you the extra room you need to fully house a 4 by 8.
You're going all the way
Right,
or as big as you
to
can.
go high, yeah.
Yeah,
Even
and
though
I
you
don't know why.
necessarily need that much.
Correct. But I also, well,
I'm
maybe
with
you can talk me into doing something different here because
I doubt it.
I want to have, like, if I'm doing this, I want all the capacity. So I mean, you could, in a 4x8, you could still do a tiny panel if you wanted to, right? So it should be able to do everything.
Put that panel somewhere.
But that's the problem. 100%. That is the problem. I would love to hear from people. Like, do you have a good method for storing that outside of simply picking it up and leaning it against a wall? Is there any possible other
hinges? Sauce hinge into the platen that it accordion folds flat. Into,
there you go. It folds up.
So a 4 foot long panel that's like 18 inches across, and then it doesn't have to be sauce hinges, but some sort of hidden hinge. Yep.
Or I imagine you could kind of keep this on a big assembly table, because my assembly table is large enough to take this thing, and then almost make a new structure on top of that. That's your actual work surface. And then whenever you need the vacuum, you just kind of pull that top off.
I don't hate Shannon's idea, but could you just like dry fit dominoes and have smaller platens that'll kind of just stick together? Does it have to be a solid
loose fitting Craig jig?
Now you're onto something. And that's a great question, because I don't know. Like, I've often thought about this with the platen's thickness. So can you go thinner with the platen to make the panel lighter? How much does the platen play into when you put this thing under pressure and you pull out all the air? How much does the platen play into maintaining flatness? So that same question might come up with the domino. Or does it just allow
air to escape from the bottom?
Right. So I've never 100% totally understood the physics of what happens under pressure like that. Like, if you vacuum press a super thin, flat thing, will it stay
matter,
flat?
Right? Because it's still pushing down on.
Yeah. I would think you would still be okay as long as your bench top, your work surface is flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, maybe if you went super thin, there's a potential. Like when you put too much clamping pressure and you put a subtle bow into a panel or something, maybe that could happen. But I wouldn't imagine you'd be going any thinner than 1/2 inch sheet good material.
No. Well, and what I have is 3/4 inch melamine, so of course it's nice and heavy.
That's what I.
But actually, I'm down with this. I love this idea with a maybe a 4-piece dominoed structure. That's just dry dominoed, and anytime I need to use it, I can reassemble this thing. That makes a lot of sense to me. And the dominoes, really cool. If you go with the longer ones, should at least help keep it flat if there is any inclination for it to pull up.
I don't know if it would try and do anything, to be honest.
Probably not, especially at the weight and the thickness at 3/4 with melamine. I've got to imagine it's going to want to stay flat. Well, you know what? Good idea. I'm gonna test that out.
You should do it, Mark, and then Matt can do his version of the video with slabs and sauce hinges, because he is bougie. So
I think you should.
I'm good on sauce hinges for a very long time. I'm good.
You're good.
I did my time.
Yeah, nice. But that's all I have going on in the shop right now. Shannon, what about you?
Currently, I'm being eyeballed by a squirrel. And he's like 6 inches from the window, and he's just staring at me
in a romantic way.
Maybe. I don't know.
For some nuts.
Yeah.
It's the wrong time of the year, I think. But yeah, he's just like perched on my rhododendron just outside the window, and he's like staring me down. Man. Back off, squirrel. Jeez.
It's a power tool user, probably.
So I'm going through we've had this conversation like 17 billion times. How do you take someone's design and make it your own? Especially when you're planning on filming it and potentially selling the project video. So I have wanted to make Nakashima's Conoid chair.
Oh yeah.
Probably since I started woodworking. It's a form that I absolutely love, and quickly got caught up in the whole, well, I don't want to do that because Nakashima company is still making this chair, still selling it about 90 minutes north of me. I've been to the factory. I've actually met the matriarch now, Mira Nakashima, in the past. It's kind of like, I don't want to do this, but so it's the same thing that, what's his name? Charles Brock went through when he decided to not make he was making the chairs, but then he decided to sell how to make the chair. Yeah. And he got around that by changing some things around, some subtle things here and there, slightly different construction techniques. So I'm just going to follow that lead, but I'm also trying to like put my spin on it. The problem is the form is as near to perfect as you can get. Like,
anything you
adding
change.
Something to this would be so wrong. It's like, put a carving on the top rail. No, that would ruin it. And this truly, I think it's my favorite piece of furniture ever. I absolutely love this thing. I've sat in real ones made by the Nakashima factory. I've seen the ones at the Renwick Gallery in DC. Even snuck a couple pictures of it when the docent wasn't looking. I know. Yeah, this NSA is going to come pound on my door right now because they listen to Wood Talk, of course.
They do. Big fans.
Absolutely.
So I'm still struggling. I haven't quite figured it out. There are some different construction techniques that I'm going to employ simply because I'm making it entirely by hand. I'm going to change the rear joint a little bit. I was going to say the back leg, but there are only 2 legs on the whole chair. Mm-hmm. It's a project that I'm planning on doing for the hand tool school, and I really want to make it my own so that I'm not stealing the Nakashima design. And don't get me wrong, like 1,000 people have already done it, but just because 1,000 people have already done it doesn't mean I want to.
This is one where other people don't seem to have any reservations about.
Nobody has any reservations, but as an exercise in design, I'm trying to play with it. And right now I've given up on altering the crest rail. I think I can do something with the splat or the slats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Spindles. That's the word I was looking for. Spindles.
Sure. But they're round, right? On the back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where I feel like if I do anything too radical, I'm like, I'll change it. But then in my head, in my soul, I will hate it because I love the Conoid chair so much. So I don't know. We'll see. I may come full circle and go, you know what? I'm doing the original design. But yeah.
Well, here, look. Let me do you a favor. I've already got your YouTube video title ready to go for this. Okay. This is I made the Conoid chair better. Just see how it goes. Yeah. See how it goes. Geez. It'll be fine. Just do that.
God, that just makes my stomach turn. Like, just oh wow, yeah. Like deep down in my being, saying I did something better than Nakashima just really bothers me. I don't think I can do that. But you're right.
Something else.
And I can imagine the thumbnail that went with that too. I have to be like pointing at it with some sort of look on my face.
Yep. And you got to definitely get a red arrow. I mean, you want to be a real YouTuber. These are the things you're going to have to do.
That's true.
Sorry.
That's true.
Bad news.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not a real YouTuber then.
Yeah, that's true.
Keep it that way.
I failed at that about 10 years ago.
You'll be happier that way.
I don't think it's so much a failure as you coming out ahead.
We'll see. My AdSense
still have your
says that I failed.
When you're done, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess that's it.
You seem happier than me. So
that's true.
Maybe a little less stressed out.
Not to go off on too much of a tangent of this, but it was funny. I was watching. So I've gotten into bike packing a lot lately. Done a couple trips this year. So like basically my YouTube algorithm, it doesn't even send me bike racing anymore. Like GCN barely even shows up anymore now. And it's all like bike packing. And it is so funny. I stumbled on this girl who rode around the world. And about halfway through, lo and behold, there is a why I'm quitting YouTube video. It's like it permeates every genre, every category on YouTube. And she's like in the middle of like Ankara, Turkey. And she's like, no, I'm going to quit YouTube. I can't do it anymore. And then somewhere from like, Vanuatu, like 6 months later, why I've rejoined YouTube. I'm like, oh man.
All the emotions.
I feel
you got to take people. All right. Well, that's actually a little bit of a preview of our next show topic. We're going to talk a little bit on the next show. You guys can look forward to that. We're going to talk about burnout. So just a little heads up for
like
that.
The cool way with like a car and like burning the tires and making smoke and stuff.
Not the
donuts.
Cool way.
We may have donuts, but we'll be dipping them in the coffee from
also
Marc's
a different kind of donut. All right, Matt, what do you got going on?
Oh, I finished my last, I guess we'll call it kitchen work marathon. That was prepping and spraying the entire room. That was a lot of work. So that's done.
How'd the overspray go? I mean, with adjoining rooms and stuff like that.
It's fine. I just sheeted it with plastic, the openings.
Okay.
So it wasn't a big deal. It goes everywhere though. It's weird. It's as much as
that's why it's called
I
overspray.
love being in a room full of like a cloud of atomized material. Like it's not for me. I did it. It's just not for me.
Not my favorite.
It's not my favorite thing by far.
I don't blame you.
By any means. It's horrible.
Especially the stuff you're spraying is not, it's not like it's latex paint.
It is not.
It's not latex paint.
It makes a beautiful finish.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't think it'd be healthy for me to continue doing this for like the rest of my life. I'm really looking forward to
You think about the guys that actually do this, for their career. This is the kind of painting they do.
Even with the PPE, it still feels like a little...
Something's getting in there.
There's a little bit something, or like, even if you're walking around afterwards and still off-gassing or something, you're like, I don't really know if this is the best place to be right now, but
well, you got the beard
stuff.
Too. You're not getting as good of a seal as you might normally get with
I
that.
never have. I've got a really poor seal right here, like in the crevice of my nose. So I always get infiltration through like the corners of my nose. And the solution is to put Vaseline in there, but I haven't done that. So I continue to have that problem. And actually,
let's just say it's good that you're done having kids.
Yes, I took care of that also. Like I physically can't anymore, regardless. So I guess we're like making sure for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you,
they don't come out anymore, but if they do, they ain't going to be swimming anywhere.
Right. All right. Good.
Thank you for the explanation.
You're welcome. Well, for the kids at home.
I work with quite a few of those like crotchety old finishing guys that have been like, I'm just going to keep spraying this forever. And they are ever so slightly off. Like, the guys who work in the mill, they're all kind of deaf. They've been working in the mill forever. The finishing guys, they still have the hearing. They still have all 10 fingers and toes, but only 10 fingers and toes. So wait a minute. Math didn't work. But they're just a little bit off.
They don't know where they are most of the time.
Yeah.
Or how they got there.
Like a Dave Spicoli kind of vibe about them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hopefully this is you're on a finishing stretch here, right? As far as the painting stuff goes. I'm being optimistic for you.
Maybe. I'm working on the shelves right now, so that's
okay.
How much work could it be to make shelves? And there's like 20 something shelves in the whole kitchen.
Guess it depends on how many you have.
And it took me 4 hours to finish sanding them all.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then I started spraying them the other day, and I'm like, okay, I'm spraying the same product, it just doesn't have any pigment in it. There's a difference. But and it lays down so nicely though. For someone who has no idea what they're doing. I'm like, this is
forgiving.
This is pretty nice. Once you kind of get a hang of like how much to use, what viscosity you need for the tip of your gun, you kind of get all that figured out behind you. Then it's like, okay, it's just same thing over and over and over again, and you have very repetitive results, which is nice, but this is not a skill that I ever wanted.
Yeah, I didn't ask for this
by any means. So
I think that's also why so many finishers use the same finish over and over again, and you can't convince them to change finishes because it's like, no, I'm dialed in.
I got it. It's consistent every single time. I can do the same thing. I don't want to. I don't want to go through the learning curve again. It took me gallons of the stuff to get to this point.
Sure.
So I was like, do you really want to go back and try and figure out the minutiae of some other product? I don't really want to.
Yeah. Well, it's like I told you guys about the floor finisher for our kitchen,
right?
Where I was talking to him about the hard wax oils, and he's like, "Look, I retire in 2 years. I'm not learning a new finish now.
I don't want to know anymore. Right.
I'm getting out before I have to.
Don't tell me about it.
Yeah. Cool.
I was raised on polyurethane. I'll die on polyurethane. Damn it.
Yeah, and he's damn good at doing it too. After all that time, he knows what he's doing. All right.
Well,
so
I think that Matt, when you finish this current round of painting, I think it's important that a hearty congratulations, first of all, to Councilwoman Lindsay Cremona. She's going to need her own office. She's going to need a new office with that title.
I just made one.
Well, now she's been elected. There's going to be like public people coming in and taking pictures and
because that's how it works.
Digging
she's got office hours
out of your closet. That's right. She needs a new councilwoman office.
Come by and meet with your council person and let them know all your grievances.
You got to get a selfie booth, all that stuff.
Yes.
Make sure you stop by the selfie booth on your way in. Yeah.
And one of those booths that like shoots like $100 bills in the air and you have to grab them out of the air. Yeah. One of those too. Yeah.
All great.
That's how local politics works, right? You have a grievance, go in the dollar booth. Yeah.
Just make sure Lindsay listens. She's got to listen to this show. She probably needs some good ideas. So.
This is where those all come from. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. We are happy to further local politics in Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely.
She needs an I'm quitting politics video. That's all I got.
And then 6 months later, I'm back. I'm back, baby. All right. WIA, Woodworking in America. It happened. And at this point, how long ago? About a month ago, maybe?
Yeah, about a month.
About that. So we did ask you guys if you had gone to the show or maybe had gone to previous shows, if you had some opinions or thoughts on it. And you guys came through. We got a voicemail and a couple of emails that we could read. Let me play the voicemail here first from Ryan.
Hey there, Marky Mark, Mr. Rogers, and Slab Master Slim. This is Ryan from Southern Minnesota calling in with a little kickback on Woodworking in America. I was there and it was fun. It was a good time. I haven't been to any previous ones, so based off of what I've heard before, it seemed like the main difference was that it was just a lot smaller. And kind of like you guys said before, it seemed like it was a little rushed this year. Overall, it was good. The classes were good. They were entertaining. I picked up some stuff from them. The big thing was the marketplace. You probably could have taken in the whole thing in about a minute. Pretty small. And also, it was weird. There was a guy in the corner trying to peddle his book to everyone. And worst part was his wife and young kid were there doing all the work while he was talking to everyone. But beyond that, it was pretty good. Appreciate everything you guys do. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for that, Ryan. Quick clarification. It wasn't my kid. It was actually Matt.
It was me. Yeah, I was a small
I can
child.
understand.
Yeah, a small child that was with me at the booth.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did have
Coloring
Ava with us, so that was wonderful. Thanks for that, Ryan. We're not going to talk about these things until we go through all of them, and then Matt and I can kind of discuss what we saw as well. I'd like them to have their voice on the show. So I think, Shannon, you got this one if you want to read it.
So this is from Kyler. He says, WIA 24 was my first woodworking conference experience. It was extremely fun and interesting. I've been woodworking 10 plus years, come from a line of carpenters in my dad and grandfather. So I recently went on my own doing custom woodworking and general contracting work. So WIA was a great opportunity to network. As one of the attendees on the younger side of the spectrum, 31, I loved the chance to learn from a wide range of expertise amongst the presenters and fellow guests. I'm also happy to represent the seemingly small subset of young professionals who are genuinely interested in carrying on traditional woodworking and custom quality furniture. Since I don't live too far from Des Moines, we made a family trip out of the conference. And my favorite memory was that my daughters, who are 3 and 2, got to meet Alexis Dolizzi. I never get her last name right. Did I say that right? Yeah, whatever. She was one of the presenters. And I introduced her to them saying, she is a woodworker like Daddy. Their eyes lit up, and I was just so thankful for Alex for that opportunity. During the live recording of some other woodworking podcast at the end of the conference, one of the questions asked was about narrowing the gap of age, race, gender, and the craft. I couldn't help but think of how cool it was for my girls to see a great female role model in that space, and I feel that those types of experiences are critical in accomplishing that mission. Whether or not my girls turn out to be woodworkers will be up to them, but I can surely say that WIA was an awesome opportunity that we will attend for as long as they host it. Wow.
Very nice. That's
Ringing
great.
endorsement. Very nice.
Yeah. Thanks, Kyler.
Yeah. Next one is from Paul. I went to WI 24, but don't have a basis for comparison to the previous shows. I met both Matt and Marc. I thought it was a really good show. I learned a lot and really liked geeking woodworking with other attendees. I went to both of your presentations. The hybrid woodworking talk resonated for me because as I do more woodworking, I'm moving from nearly all power tools to the hybrid approach that Marc spoke about. And now I know that I need a big brick of a Veritas shoulder plane to complement my Stanley number 92, and I should probably trade my router plane for the Melbourne. I really like the notion of using a low angle plane with different irons to meet various needs based on bevel angle. Matt, I attended your talk also, and despite reading the description, it was not what I expected. I thought that you'd be talking about making live edge creations from slabs, but you delivered a fascinating and eye-opening presentation on making pieces or projects from a slab to maximize the beauty, movement, and expression of the grain. I love this idea, though I probably will need to upgrade from my old Delta 14-inch bandsaw to take advantage to the fullest. I enjoyed every seminar I attended, not a single fail in the lot. Can't wait for the next one. Keep up the great work.
Very nice. That's some really good feedback. So thank you, Paul and Kyler and Ryan. One theme that I noticed, and it's consistent with the feedback we just received. The biggest thing I noticed is that most people there were not attendees of previous Woodworking in Americas. In fact, didn't necessarily even know that there were previous Woodworking in Americas. That I was not prepared for.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Didn't know that it existed before. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So the thing is, there's a lot of churn in any hobby, right? So as people come in and out, people who were interested back then may be completely out of the game. And I can think of a few names right off the top of my head of people who were a big presence at Woodworking in America who completely fell off the woodworking map since then, right? So including Vanderlist, the previous host of this show. Tom Iovino is another one. I mean, these guys are still around doing their thing, but they're not doing woodworking necessarily. Wilbur Pan was someone who was at the previous shows and also taught at this WIA 24. So I don't know how many of us there actually were from the two different generations of the show. So that was very eye-opening to me. Is how
for that matter, you've got presenters that are not like. I had a conversation with somebody the other day about dovetails, and I brought up Frank Klaus, and I got a who.
Yeah. Who's
and
that?
I was like, wow. Yeah. I mean, people retire.
Yeah, they retire. They become, they're not part of the current discussion anymore. Relevance drops off so fast these days. If they're not putting YouTube videos out or social media, a lot of people just are never going to know that they exist, which sucks. But that's, I guess, the nature of the beast.
I do have to give major kudos, not to stroke his ego anymore, but kudos to Matt for the topic of that conversation.
Yeah.
You are helping lumber yards everywhere by making people realize that you can do something with live edge slabs other than make live edge furniture, because there is an enormous inventory of live edge slabs sitting in these retailers and wholesalers for that matter that all jumped on the live edge bandwagon, and the turn rate on that stuff is like historically the worst SKU in the lumber industry, like dating back hundreds of years. And it's become like you talk to any lumberyard owner and you bring up slabs and they like groan and roll their eyes. And it's because that people have this impression like, well, I already built a coffee table. I already built a conference table.
Right.
I don't want live edge for my dining table. And it's like, it's still wood. Like you can just compose.
It's just it's
all the same grain and color. Form. It's like fantastic.
But the problem is those slabs are really expensive because they want to get their money's worth out of maintaining those slabs for 2 years. So that's the thing. Like I emailed you guys about a slab recently, locally, that was available for like $1,800. And I said, guys, am I just off here? But this seems like a lot. Is that normal? You're like, it's, for what it is, it's probably in the ballpark. And I'm like, and there's the problem. I would not buy that for the sake of cutting it up to make smaller furniture pieces out of it.
Well,
it's priced the same way figured lumber is. It's not by the board foot, it's by the piece, and it's
by simply what does that piece look like?
Buying tip, because that question came up in my presentation, and I was hoping someone would say that. And my answer to that is you can go and you can buy the reject stuff that's all twisted and cupped, because you're gonna be cutting that thing up into whatever small parts you need, and you're gonna get that thing for a song, because they can't sell it for a tabletop because you can't flatten it and get anything out of it. So that's like a little hack if you want to try and get into it and not want to spend the money. Show me your reject pile.
Take me to the
Because
rejects.
there's plenty of good stuff that I can make out of that warped thing, because I'm going to cut it up anyway. Shannon, say your thing. Say your saying, Shannon.
What's your saying,
flattening
Shannon?
boards.
You can flatten it with a saw.
There you go.
Fastest way to flatten a board is with a saw. There we go.
There you go. You got it.
Look at that. I had no idea what you were talking about for a second there. Like, I was saying?
Like,
what?
I didn't know he has a saying.
It's your saying. Where it's at.
There goes all my credibility. I will say that another buying tip to this is don't buy slabs from a yard that doesn't have a sawmill, because they have bought their slabs from someone else at slab price. I am seeing the price of slabs go down from the guys that actually saw it, because, and this is the true irony in the high cost slabs, because it's actually just through sawn. Like, quarter sawn costs more because it's a pain in the butt to saw it and the yield is low. Through sawing, there is no loss in yield and it's pretty easy. You just throw the log on and it's plain sawn, and if you saw it thicker, a lot of times, certainly handling, it's heavy, but drying is difficult, but at least the thicker stuff kind of holds its shape a lot better, assuming it's been stickered and level and all that, see Matt's videos for all that stuff. But Like if you buy it from a guy who has a sawmill and has sawn the slabs himself, those prices are coming down dramatically. And in many instances, they're just through sawing. They're not trying to be specialty fancy with the rift and quartered and all that stuff. They're just sawing it into slab, and they just happen to have a flitch sitting there, and you can buy it that way. It tends to be a lot cheaper and a lot more flexibility in the cost. But most of the slabs that people are running across are in a showroom somewhere.
Yeah.
And that was not sawn by the person who's selling it. That's why the costs are they're not dropping them because their margin is super small too. So go upstream to the source as much as possible. Much better.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but a good one. So
Lumber
overall,
industry tangent. Dun, dun, dun.
Right? You're just doing you, just saying your sayings, whatever they are.
Yeah, whatever they are.
Yeah, your
Even make them up
catchphrase.
on the spot.
you know that thing you always say.
Invariably.
Yeah,
There we go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Invariably, his favorite one. So overall on the show, in comparison, I mean, both Matt and I were at past shows. How'd you feel about it, Matt? Like overall positive vibe?
I think it was overall positive, and again, I have to compare it to the old ones because that's my frame of reference. This one felt like all the other shows, not like in a bad way, but it felt like Fine Woodworking Live. It felt like Weekend with Wood. It felt like the Woodsmith weekend thing that I did before, where it's kind of a more concentrated crowd, and the focus is on the presentations, not necessarily the marketplace. The old Woodworking in Americas felt more like Maker Central, where that's even crazier of a show, but because it has 10,000 people at it. But it was,
To
the
be
focus
clear,
was that giant
The
marketplace.
latest iterations of the old Woodworking in America felt like that. Go back to 09, 10, even 11.
I guess so. Yes, that's
true.
before me. I don't have that for
thing-
reference either.
Yeah, because if you remember way back, the original one, there was hands-on classes in 09. And I mean, it ended up not working just because it's so hard to have, benches and tools for all those people. But yeah, I would say even 11. I mean, that was fantastic. I mean, I presented that year, so of course.
Well, that was the best year. Everyone always
was the
says.
best year. But it was really a focus on the classes, and the marketplace was, it was big, but from that point on, I'd say that was the watershed. It became more about the marketplace, and for that matter, Popular Woodworking started selling a marketplace only ticket.
Yeah.
And I think that's what probably put it under.
And that was one of the biggest things that was notably fun about the past WIAs is exactly that. Is if you weren't interested in whatever talks were happening at that moment, you could leave and probably go do something fun and find some people down on the marketplace floor. It was a destination in and of itself. That's a little hard to recreate in this situation, but they are just starting it back up, and it does seem like that was enough of a success that they're going to do this again, and are going to make it better, and they can make it bigger, and hopefully build it back up to something that makes sense for them financially and for the community to keep doing it. So, I mean, I feel pretty positive about it overall. There's definitely ways they can improve, but with the amount of time they had to pull this together, the fact that they planned it on the same weekend as another very large maker event.
Two
right?
other
Was
ones.
it Maker Camp? Was that weekend?
Yeah,
The
Maker
Minnesota,
Camp. Yep.
whatever Woodworkers. What's the name of it?
The Woodworkers Expo.
Woodworkers Expo, right? So that was going on, and it's a hard sell when those things have been on the books for the past year, and then Woodworking America comes in August and says, "Hey guys, we're doing a show in a couple months." Okay, I think they're lucky they actually pulled it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, overall,
it was good.
I've got I got a positive
energy.
feel on it. Great talking to people. Meeting some folks who are coming into the thing new. Good people all around. It's always great to shake some hands, and it was really cool having Ava there, getting to see similar experience to what was the guy's name with his daughter? That was Kyler. Similar experience where I introduced Ava to Alexis, and is that her name, Alexis? I know she introduced herself as Alex. That's why I get a little confused.
Yeah.
Alexis. Anyway, introduced her, and I said, "Guess what? She's a woodworker." And Ava was like, "What? Nuh-uh." She just wouldn't believe it, right?
Those don't exist.
And Ava doesn't have that much interest in woodworking anyway, but she knows that's Daddy's job. But seeing that this young female is doing the same thing that Dad does and better, is quite awesome to see. So she definitely took something away from that.
No, I'm not trying to throw shade at Mark. I'm glad he said it first, but seriously, the women woodworkers I know are kicking the butts of the men right now.
Yeah.
And I attribute it, like I've got a couple of rock stars in the hand tool school community, and I honestly attribute it to the fact that they have no ego, they have no preconceived notions. Everything is like total open mind coming in woodworking, and the learning curve is this like exponential rocket. Some of these women are absolutely taking on really, really advanced stuff after 18 months of woodworking. So yeah, the women are definitely better at it than we are.
Well, hopefully more of them will take it on and do it. I think it's awesome. All right. Anything else we want to say about that before we go? Go on a little break.
I have lots to say about it because I wasn't there. So
lots of opinions. Third-hand opinions that are always real valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't there, but if I would.
Here's what I think.
But I wish it was more of this. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a little break here so you guys can hear some sweet commercials and stuff like that. And then we will be back. And we're back. I love doing that.
Hello
the
there.
in-person, like natural transition between those is just great. All right. So it's question time, and we've got some. I got a question here from Karter with a K. He says, or actually could be a female, Karter? I don't know. Karter with a K. Either way. I've got a question for the whole crew. There's a neighbor of mine who has a decent amount of tools and equipment that allow me to complete my woodworking projects easier and faster than if I were to use my own equipment. My question is, do I try and justify purchasing the same equipment throughout the years, or do I keep utilizing his setup? I'm pretty worthless and have nothing to offer in return, so it's most definitely a one-way street of services. It's a great question. The follow-up to this question is, how do I try and convince him to buy the next best equipment and sell me his?
There you go.
This is great.
Now you're thinking.
I've been sending various mediocre deals on jointers, planers, etc. off of Facebook Marketplace to him, but he claims he's not ready to pull the trigger. How do I force this?
I have a neighbor named Karter who comes and uses my stuff.
Okay, hold on.
And has been sending me things.
Then maybe we have... Okay, all right. I see where this is coming from.
This might be that, or it could be a complete coincidence, a scary coincidence.
No way. This is your friend Karter. This has got to be your buddy Karter.
Is your neighbor Karter pretty worthless?
No, he's not.
I mean, he just said it here, so it's okay if you say it back.
How many times we moved my pantry door in and out of the building to trim it to fit and hang it back up again?
Well, let's hear from Matt. Like, how much of a pain in the butt is this for you? I mean, how much does Karter annoy you when he comes over? Is this a problem?
None.
None? Are you sure? Hold on, I won't put this in the show. You could be honest.
None.
No, I'm definitely not putting it in the show now.
That's no fun.
Juicier than that.
It's pretty easy. Like, he's not worthless. So it's like, there's a shop, do what you want. He's not like, I think it'd be different if he was like coming to like do like advanced table saw joinery. Yeah. And like I was in the middle of cutting something, or I had a saw set up for something or whatever. But it's like, I'm coming to plane a cutting board blank.
Yeah.
I'm coming to use the drum sander.
There to borrow a cup of drum sander.
It's like, cool.
And he knows enough about, like, he's self-sufficient, so you're not having to help him through these things, right?
Yeah, he's like, there's the garage is right there. I don't even need to talk to me. Just come in and use it and leave.
Will this change though?
Like just leave. I mean, yeah.
Will this change?
It's fine.
So when you get the kitchen stuff mostly done, and maybe you're pivoting back to doing more furniture on the regular, you anticipate it being more of a problem then? Because I sure would.
No, because at least unless the things that he's looking to do changes. But again, it's like he's got a lunchbox planner. It's infinitely faster for him to drive 1.3 miles to my house, pop up on a garage door and stick it through the red beast and go home than it is to just sit there and feed it through that lunchbox planner. So like if it's that level of stuff, I don't really care. That doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah.
But if it's like I'm coming here to make a complicated piece of furniture and I'm leaving all my stuff here and now it's like a community shop, that's different.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess it depends on his intentions then. So let's assume this wasn't your friend and someone else was doing this. I would be hesitant to continue with that because at some point I do think, Matt's a really easygoing person. I'm less so. So I think in terms of how I would be in this situation, at some point you wear your welcome out a little bit. And the more you use the tools, or like Matt was saying, the more involved the projects get, the more you run that potential to possibly wear out your welcome. So I would definitely start to think about acquiring the right tools so that you can do what you need to do in your own shop. That would be the best way to go. But I think
in this specific instance, Karter's best option would be to start reaching out to tool manufacturers to try to get another really big sponsor for Matt, so that they come in and give Matt a whole new shop.
I need another manager. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, then the new tools will fly in, and then you just got to get rid of the old ones.
Right. Because if you think about it, if all
he wants my jointer.
Spoken for already.
Yeah. I mean, you think about the number of tool makers out there that want to give you free tools in exchange for publicity. That ought to be easy, right? If his entire job
anymore.
Yeah, I guess that's
it's
true.
It's not like it used to be. Again, see the next show.
It's never been that way in the hand tool world, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, those guys are stingy. Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a very interesting question, Karter. Yeah. Thank you. Karter, not Matt's friend.
Also,
just to be specific.
Yeah, he brings me eggs and maple syrup and
like fresh eggs.
Yeah.
Wow.
And where's the maple syrup come from?
His house.
Like local.
He makes
grocery store. Or?
No kidding. Okay, well, you trust?
Yeah, because one of the tools he borrowed from me is he came here to use a plasma torch to make his evaporator thing or boiler, whatever the hell they're called, for making syrup.
Yeah. Right.
He made one. He didn't have a plasma cutter. He welded something. He borrowed my welder once to do something. I don't know. But
okay. Well, there are two things I love in this world, and I would put fresh eggs.
I'm getting something out of it. Like I get
fresh eggs and
syrup
are two of those things. Like real maple syrup are really high on my list of things that I could take as currency. So I don't know if the drive is worth it for you, Karter, but I also have a shop.
Yeah.
So. And I have a bigger planer, so
there you go.
Let's hang out.
There you go. Right.
Oh man. Okay, good deal.
It only takes off 128th of an inch at a time, though.
Well, I put it. It's essentially like a governor that I put on it that will only let it take off a few thousandths at a time. So it may take a little bit of time. All right, Matt, I think you're up.
Okay, this question is from another Marc.
Woo.
Hey, Marc, Matt, and Shannon. I love the show. I don't currently own a bandsaw and do all my resawing on the table saw. I get decent results, but I'm wondering if you could recommend a blade for the table saw that's more meant for resawing. My saw is a DeWalt 8 1/4 inch contractor style, and the blade I'm using is a Dablo 8 1/4 inch with 24 teeth. I usually only resaw 3 to 5 inch material and make 2 passes at roughly half the height. I do use a double stack featherboard as well. Anyone can answer. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Look at that.
Anyone.
Open invitation. Anyone can answer this question.
All right. Except Marc, because he's not here.
Yes, other Marc.
Yeah,
so many
Marcs
now.
We'll sit here in silence and wait for Marc to answer.
I was waiting for Marc's opinion on this. So Marc, here's kind of what I was thinking with this. You say you get decent results, but what is the issue that you're having that you would like us to solve? Because I'm not really sure what problem. Well, we could talk about a few different problems I get. Are you like, it's going too slow, it's burning, you're getting like a wobbly cut, or things aren't aligned? What's the real problem that you're having? Because if it's getting decent results, it just sounds like it's working just fine. But we talk about a few things. So first off, with these little baby portable saws, you're going to be running up against the issue of power, for one, making those tall cuts in that piece of wood anyway. So I think you're kind of going to be in that realm of, I don't really have a whole lot of power to really just go crazy anyway. The other thing is that at an 8 1/4 inch blade with 24 teeth is probably still a lot for resawing, but I don't even know if they make blades that small with less teeth in that. 24 teeth might be the smallest number of teeth you can get for that diameter of blade. So maybe you're stuck at that point too. I don't really know.
Maybe he should take apart his dado stack, and just use those little two-tooth ones. What are those called? The chippers?
Use the chippers.
Just stick a chipper in there. See what happens. Now you have a 2-tooth blade.
Yes. Lots of gullet space. Lots of room for sawdust and stuff.
Don't do that. That was a joke, Marc. Don't do that.
I took this question because I'm kind of thinking that this might be the best you're going to get with that saw, like in general, based on the fact that it's a portable kind of job site style saw with that smaller diameter blade. It's not really meant for what you're trying to do, and I don't think anyone's going to be making a proper.
What would you say like superior results of resawing on a table saw looks like?
That's the other
like
thing
maybe
too,
we need to level set his expectations. Like it's never really that good. You're probably always going to get a little bit of burning, you know, depending on the species. If it's maple or cherry, it's gonna burn. I don't care what you do. So maybe he's what he thinks he can do better, maybe the best that's available. Like
that's
table
what I'm trying
saws
to
are
get
not
at.
really
Like,
designed for
really
resawing.
any improvement that's actually necessary or even like realistic at this point, especially with this saw? I don't really think so. I think you kind of get the best you can do with this.
I think it's a miracle that you're doing it in the first place.
That's kind of where I was at. I'm like, that seems like a lot for this thing, but maybe you're doing.
I mean, he doesn't.
Softer wood.
He doesn't say what the kerf is. You know, maybe it's a standard 1/4-inch kerf, but maybe going to a thin kerf.
They're tiny at those blades.
Can they? I was going to say, can an 8 1/4-inch blade even come at that normal full kerf thick? Oh,
they're going to be even thinner kerf than a normal 10-inch blade's thin kerf is. So they're like laser kerf already. So you're barely taking any kerf right now with that saw. I don't think it's going to get any better for you.
Yeah,
personally,
I wouldn't think it.
I think keep doing what you're doing. Sounds wonderful. Have realistic expectations, I guess.
Yeah. Get it with hand plane. Buy a belt sander.
Do it with a hand plane.
There you go. Just do it.
No, don't do it with a hand plane. Hit it with a hand plane after.
Oh,
that. No. You can't resaw with a hand plane.
All my resaws result in half a board. I don't get the other half.
Yeah.
All right, Shannon, you're up.
So this is from David. He says, I've been a listener of your show for only about a month now, and I've been binge watching and listening to your videos and podcasts and really enjoy your content. Which, let me just take that and say, that's cool. Like, I've been hearing from a lot of people lately who are like just started listening. And then based on what we heard from WIA, that like maybe woodworking isn't dead. It's not a bunch of old dudes. Like, we have new people coming in now. So
well, we're the old dudes now. So
yeah, that's true.
In case you didn't know.
There's still lots of old dudes. Yeah. Let's see. I was recently given a bulk of rough sawn lumber. Is that a unit of measure? A bulk? A bulk of rough sawn lumber, as well as some slabs from a friend who used to own a sawmill and was looking to clear some space. So yeah, a cup of slabs. The majority of it consists of white oak, maple, black cherry, and sassafras. I wonder if there's a good resource that can help me in figuring out which woods are best for outdoor builds and which are better for indoor builds, as well as the types of projects that lead better to certain woods versus others. I want to make the best use of the wood that's given to me, and with a plethora of voices to be heard or read online these days, I want to use a trusted source. A plethora of piñatas. So, this is a bit of a hot button for me. There are certainly wood books and species guides and things like that, and they pretty much are all using the same language. So the first thing I would recommend is go to the Wood Database. Wood Database is a fantastic free resource online, and there will be a paragraph in there that talks about applications, but also what is its durability rating? It's rated as durable, very durable, et cetera, for outdoor use. So if you're trying to figure out, is this wood that I can use outside? That is a resource you can go to. It will give you some idea of some of the applications, but you'll also look at 4 or 5 different wood species and you'll see that the verbiage is pretty much the same, and it's like, well, moderately durable. Well, what the hell does moderately durable mean? Extremely durable. Well, that must be good, but is moderately durable not good? There are some ratings and scales and things like that, but ultimately your better bet is to understand why. Why is, he lists white oak here. Why is white oak a good exterior wood species? Why is cocobolo a good exterior wood species? And understanding what makes an exterior wood good and what makes an interior wood not good for outside will help you not just understand the 4 species you may have in that lumber you got, but understand any species you pick up, from anybody. So white oak particularly is good at exterior because its pores are crammed full of tylose, which is like nature's silicone caulk, basically. And it's plugged up all those pores and it doesn't allow water to wick up into the wood. Whereas red oak has none of that tylose in the pores, and you can, blow through it like a straw and blow bubbles in a puddle of water on an 8-foot board. That's just one of the reasons. Some of the tropical woods are resistant, to bugs and termites because of the natural oils and resins. Sometimes it's just that the hardness makes it better for outdoors. There's any number of reasons, and your better bet is to understand the whys behind all of that. So without tooting my horn too much, I have a video on YouTube of a presentation that I did at Woodworking in America in 2011. Yes, that's a long time ago, but wood science hasn't changed since 2011.
Old
that goes
info,
into the
but
details
resolution
of this.
has.
Yeah,
right.
That has changed.
Yeah, the resolution definitely has changed a bit since then. But I also have this podcast as I unzip my hoodie and show the t-shirt here.
Prepared.
Getting naked.
My Lumber Update podcast has several episodes that espouse this thing, specifically episode 68 on interpreting the woodworking properties. So when you're talking about not just interior versus exterior, like which wood is good for this particular project, in short, you're not going to, if you're building furniture, you're not really going to find a wood that's going to fail. If you're building a bridge, okay, there may be some things you want to look at there, but most of the technical properties of wood will withstand just about any furniture you make. Ultimately, it's up to us to make quality joinery, and maybe choosing the right joint can determine whether a piece of furniture fails or succeeds. But here again, like if, say I were to answer, your questions for white oak, maple, black cherry, and sassafras. Tomorrow, you're going to be like, well, what about soft maple? What about black locust? And that's never going to end. And ultimately, what I want to arm you with is the knowledge to know how to discover this on your own. Not that I don't want your questions. I get the questions all day long, but being able to understand what those technical properties that can be found for using something like the wood database, if you understand what an 800 Janka hardness means when it comes to putting a plane or a saw to that wood, then you will know pretty much how most woods around 800 to 900 Janka hardness are going to react. And you're going to know that one that's 1800 Janka hardness, it's going to be a lot harder to work with. And then you get some time to work with that. So this idea of starting at the wood database, finding a wood that you have experience working with, and you know that I like to use it for this. Look at what its technical properties are and find other woods that are similar to it. And there's a strong chance they're going to be similar working properties, similar application principles. So then you have that as kind of a control, right? I have a lot of experience with cherry. I know how it works. I love working with cherry. So there's a good bet that soft maple, red maple is going to be very similar because the technical properties are almost identical. But hard maple, totally different prospect. And I mean, you could throw Suriname snakewood at that and look at the technical properties and make some educated decisions on how it's going to work. Now, there's no substitute for putting chisel to wood or whatever, but if you're trying to decide I'm buying something online from an online retailer of lumber, this is really the only way to do it. So episode 68 of the Lumber Update, I will post a link in the show notes, as well as this slightly lower resolution video from 2011. That's the principles. And I could probably think there are 2 other Lumber Updates that talk about the same thing. I continually use this principle. Hell, there's an article in Popular Woodworking sometime back in 2014 that I wrote that covers this topic. And it's the only way that you will prevent you from calling me tomorrow and saying, what about this species? And then calling me the next day, what about that species? Understand why. What is the expression? Teach a man to fish and he'll eat forever or something like that. That's what we're talking about here. I'm teaching you to wood.
How to fish lumber.
Teaching you to wood.
How to fish for lumber. Exactly.
There you
go. Yeah.
Nice. Great answer.
I try.
I actually want to go listen to that episode because that is something that over time, I think a lot of woodworkers kind of do naturally and maybe don't even realize it, where you start to realize that, especially that Janka hardness. I never thought about it, but I will make those decisions when I'm looking at a Janka hardness scale. If I don't know the wood, I look that up. Immediately I go, all right, now I can kind of get an idea of how durable this is going to be, how hard it's going to be on my tooling. And then you could look up, certain woods are just kind of a little bit rougher on your tools and will dull your tools faster. And you know what those properties are. And when you see the interlocking grain and things like that you talk about all the time in various species, that just gives a warning sign about other things that are going to happen. And I didn't do it on purpose, but just kind of by osmosis, this stuff sinks in. So that looks
Yeah.
like a good episode to go check out. Cool. All right. We'll have links to all that stuff that Shannon discussed. All right. I think it's going to do it for us today. Remember that this show is made possible by the generous contributions of our patrons. And if you'd like to help out and get your name read on the show, also, you can get an ad-free version of the show. Head over to patreon.com/woodtalk. And Shannon, before you go into your contact info, I want to encourage people, please utilize this contact info. Our inbox, while we aren't able to answer all the questions, we do love getting a nice, a plethora, as Shannon would say, of questions, so that we have some cool things to choose from to get content for the show. So he's going to tell you all about how you can get in touch with us, but I encourage you to do so. We want to hear from you guys, and we would like a nice, wide selection of options when we go to pick the questions for the shows. Just pleading.
The subtext to that conversation is probably heavily inside baseball, but yeah,
a little bit.
I agree to that. And it wasn't me. It was El Guapo who likes to say plethora.
Oh, the infamous? El
The
Guapo?
infamous El Guapo. So yeah, what Mark said. Send in questions. Go to woodtalkshow.com. There is a contact form there. There's also just send us an email. I don't know how many people use that contact form anymore, to tell you the truth.
A lot of them do come in through the contact form,
Okay.
believe it or not. Yeah.
It all shows up in the same place for me.
Yep.
So, but use the email, woodtalkshow@gmail.com. Please fill up our inbox. We love that. It's not that there's not stuff in the inbox. There's many pages in the inbox, but there's also stuff from 2019 that just feels weird answering now. It feels kind of like a slap in the face. Hey, I had this
little bit.
urgent question that we get to 5 years later.
Yeah.
Feels like that's almost
don't
wrong.
Send us
so
urgent questions. It's just
Nothing
yeah.
urgent.
There's just a general rule of thumb. Send in questions, but not like, hey, this is drying and I need an answer in the next 5 minutes. You know, I've applied this coat of finish and I need to fix it. What do I do before it dries? Don't do that. But you also can hit us on Instagram. We will get a distillation of those from time to time from Instagram. That's at Wood Talk Show as well. Heck, you can even look us up on our individuals at Matt Cremona, Wood Whisperer, and Renaissance Woodworker. Please send us questions. We want to talk about wood. We need your questions to talk about wood.
We do.
And yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Well,
That's all
thanks.
I got to say.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, Matt. It's always good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Are you going
All right.
somewhere? We're not going to do another show? We're just doing.
Oh, we are. But as far the people at home don't know that. Well, I mean, they know it, but we're trying to
keep
create
that
an
air of
illusion.
mystery.
Yeah. Seriously. All right.
We're always
Anyway,
just sitting here talking like constantly. We never leave.
that's all we
This
do.
is just where we are.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.